Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi taala wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillah rabbil alamin wassalatu wassalamu ala asyrafil anbiya wal mursalin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Alhamdulillah, all praise to Allah Subhanahu wa taala that give us the opportunity to do good work, da'wah through positive Islamic psychology, and we are training you from our life coach program, which you can access to our website islamic-psychology.net. And what is important is now in this crucial period of climate change and climate disruption and the impending disaster catastrophe, if we do not handle this well, a huge catastrophe that never happened in the history of humanity can come about if we are not careful. So we have to change ourselves, family, society, global, and the universe. And what is important is for you, all of us, to work together. We have our YouTube channel. We have more than 400 videos, Islamic Psychology PIP. You can go there and find this video. But we have a very specific climate change video that we are developing, that is Islamic Climate Action Network, ICAN. You go to this video, and this is only specifically to climate change because we find that that is the greatest challenge to humanity and civilization in the 21st century, and we have all the others. So today I'm going to give you a video by Dr. Peter Wetham, Emeritus Professor of Polar Ocean Physics, Cambridge University, UK. He is the foremost expert in the world. For 40 years he has been studying polar ice as part of the yearly annual expedition and so on. So he is the person as the most ultimate resource person, a Professor Emeritus of Cambridge University, not any Tom, Dick and Harry University, of Cambridge University. So he is warning IPPCC that we cannot take this issue of polar melting just because we have this Paris Agreement and we try to water down. If this IPCC it aims to hold the temperature to below, rise to below 1.5 to 2 degrees Celsius. But there's a 93% chance that we'll go to 4 degrees Celsius if we are not careful. Alright, so this is where he is saying that the IPCC must act on even quickly. Don't just follow the politicians and then we will go into the 4 degree. At the 4 degree, it is actually the destruction of all climate situation in the world, and it could even spell the feedback loop. Because initial change, climate warming, and then atmospheric water vapor increase, then the greenhouse effect because of the radiation of all the greenhouse gases, increased warming, and this whole cycle, including the release of methane from the polar, is going to destroy this earth. So what he's saying is that all this issue must be taken cognizant of, and if we do not take care of that, what will happen at 4 degrees Celsius? Species extinction, food insecurity, all coastal city will be underwater, all island nation will be underwater, social conflict, lethal heat, surging wildfire, hurricane, melted polar ice, dead corals, and the spread of pathogens throughout the world. So all these are the side effect of polar ice melting, which Professor Peter Wetham is very familiar, and he's telling us, he's warning the world that we all have to work together, not only IPCC, but all the political leaders in the world will have to heed to this warning so that we can, inshallah, make sure that we do not have all these challenges. Because if when all these challenges at 4 degrees Celsius, it will be too late for us to save our civilization, and it will be a catastrophe beyond any imagination. So IPCC, we have 10 years to work on, which you should work within these 10 years. But what is important is that all of us, especially we, the Muslims, who are the steward of this earth, we are the Khalifa of Allah on this earth, we must spread this news, work on, view this video, take cognizance of it, and spread our message through Islamic Climate Action Network. And inshallah, we strive to make ourselves good, help others to be good, and make the world good, inshallah.
We're looking at, this is the kind of thinking of the old-fashioned modelers, the ones who were way behind the curve and saying we wouldn't have ice-free conditions until the end of the century. That sort of modelling, one thought they would be embarrassed enough by reality to withdraw that kind of a modelling approach. But here it is back again.
So the IPCC, which has been notably underestimating the severity and the speed for the past 20 or 30 years, however long they've been in existence, now they seem to be getting with the program. What I'm hearing in the blogosphere is that this report is more properly alarming.
Yes, it is alarming, but in a sense it has to be, because the IPCC has tended to be quite complacent in the way that it's handled global warming, and soft-pedaled on certain kind of self-reinforcing feedbacks that other people worry about. I mean, that I worry about and a lot of people worry about are the feedback mechanisms which are liable to eventually lead us to some sort of runaway warming. Mm-hmm. And those are things like the methane feedback, the sea level rise feedback, the albedo feedback. And it's the IPCC has tended to soft pedal on those to the extent of actually forgetting some of them, or hoping they don't exist by not mentioning them. Like
hoping they go away. Let's ignore. Don't pay any attention to that man behind the curtain in the corner of the room.
Well, if they don't mention it, then, and if they're uncertain what its magnitude will be, then by not mentioning it, it sort of goes away entirely, and you don't have to deal with it. And there's some classic cases there, like the case of methane from the offshore, whether that could expand to be a major threat. It won't, in the IPCC's view, because they don't consider it in the first place. Mm-hmm. So when you look at the new report, you hope that they've mended some of these, but they've mended some of them, but not all. And really, they still have the same mental view that we just need to do more of the same, and even more of the same, to keep temperatures down to 1.5 rather than 2. And so there's a big stress on CO2 emissions reduction, except that it's so obvious that at 1.5 you have to focus on carbon dioxide removal.
Do they talk about emissions, not just reductions, about withdrawal, about carbon withdrawal in this new report?
They do, yes, but they don't go into the magnitude of the reduction that's going to be needed. I mean, they say, well, we will have to have CO2 removal from the atmosphere, but they don't. What they ought to be doing is going into how much CO2 removal per year is going to be needed to keep the warming down to 1.5, and that number is very large. It's at least 20 billion tons. I mean, it's about 40 or 50% of what our present emissions are. Is the amount we have to just take out of the atmosphere to keep the warming down below 1.5, and that's such a massive commitment. Such a kind of a huge industry is going to be needed that will change everybody's life, that it needs to be considered as part of the warning. I mean, the warning's not meant to be just a warning, watch out or else. The warning should be, look, unless we do this, we've had it, but this is what we have to do. They really still soft pedal on these tipping points, the self-reinforcing feedbacks. And one of them, I've just reading what they say, is, of course, sea ice, which I know most about. And you look for what they say about sea ice, and it's daft. They say that if we can keep global warming to 1.5 degree, then there'll be an ice-free summer only once every 100 years.
What?
Once every 100 years, we'll have an ice-free summer. But of course, we know that from maybe next year, maybe the year after, we're going to have an ice-free summer, and then nothing but ice-free summers. And that's nothing to do with plus 1.5. It's the situation as it is now. And that's so as well as saying ice-free summers once every 100 years at 1.5, they say that if we let the temperature rise to 2 degrees, there'll be an ice-free summer every 10 years. But even that is, again, equally daft, because we know that that's not the case. So we're looking at this is the kind of thinking of the old-fashioned modelers, the ones who were way behind the curve and saying we wouldn't have ice-free conditions until the end of the century. That sort of modelling, one thought they would be embarrassed enough by reality to withdraw that kind of a modelling approach. But here it is back again, and pretending that the situation isn't the way it is. And I notice that there isn't a well-known sea ice researcher's name on the author list. So presumably the authors looked up what was the conventional wisdom on sea ice, and they said, oh yeah, the models say it won't disappear until the end of the century. So we'll put that down, and but it's wrong. So when there's something like that, something as serious as that they get completely wrong, then one doesn't feel too confident about the rest.
You mentioned before 3 of the areas that are overlooked or deleted that could be runaway cycles in themselves. Can you list them again?
Well, the first is the emission of methane from the Arctic offshore. And that's always been a bugbear because IPCC has always ignored it. Mm-hmm. And yet that potentially is a very, very serious threat. And they likewise ignore it in this report.
Your conjecture as to why they ignore it is that it can't be modeled and they don't have the money to go there or the interest to go there. And so they ignore those who do go there, the expeditionary scientists like yourself and Dr. Shakova, and because we can't put it in our models. So we'll base it on the models, which say the methane's not supposed to be coming out for 50 or 100 years.
That's it, and it is pretty scandalous.
Well, but it's not scandalous to the policymakers. I've always said that this game is set up in a way that's meant to not hold the feet of the policymakers too close to the fire.
Well, and ditto some of the scientists, because whenever you get some outrageously terrible thing happening, something that has been predicted and then comes about in terms of hurricanes, extreme cold, extreme warm weather, what you often get out of the scientists is say, none of us knew that this was going to happen. It's not true. What they mean is, I didn't know this was going to happen because I do modelling and I don't look at data. But what they say is none of us knew. They try to pull me and other observational scientists into that to say, oh, none of us knew. Well, but in fact, you look at, and lots of people did know, and lots of people predicted it, and lots of people warned about it. But then there's another one that has attention's already been drawn to it. How fast sea level rise is going to accelerate. And what they do in the report is they take account, in the past, the most flagrant failure of IPCC was not to mention the retreat of glaciers at all, and simply say sea level rise was due to warming of the ocean. And they produced some outrageously low predictions for where sea level rise would go in the next century, which was terrible because it just was a kind of God's gift to policymakers to be complacent and not spend a lot of money on sea defences. But they repented of that in their last assessment, and they included some of the feedbacks due to glacier and ice sheet retreat. And in this one, what they're saying for 1.5 is they're taking account of retreat of Greenland and of the West Antarctic ice sheet, but they're not taking account of anything else. So the things they're not accounting for are the East Antarctic ice sheet, which itself is beginning to retreat, or additional mechanisms happening in Greenland related to the fact that you have this new process of meltwater running down to the bedrock and accelerating the flow of outlet glaciers
through the moulins.
That's something. Yes, through the moulins. Yeah, that's something that they're not taking account of, and it's a question of these feedbacks, which really you can call self-reinforcing feedbacks. It's where something new happens because of warming. The new thing that happens makes things go worse and worse and worse.
Yes.
And it's a self-reinforcing feedback, which well, I've drawn attention to a lot of them, and other people have drawn attention to them. But IPC seems to not like self-reinforcing feedbacks because they're things that literally blow up in their faces. And they don't want anything to blow up in their faces. They want things to perhaps gradually accelerate, but no surprising things to happen, because otherwise I think they feel their call to action will not be heeded if it's too urgent a call, which it seems daft to me. But anyway, that's their attitude thing.
Now, we've covered two of the three. I thought you had mentioned a third feedback loop.
Yes, I think the other one that they don't mention is changes in the ocean circulation. And this, for instance, the decline in the thermohaline circulation is leading to reduced amount of warm water. It's actually having worldwide implications, but in the Atlantic region, it's reduced flow of warm water up to Europe, so that Europe doesn't warm up as fast as it would otherwise do. But also that means the reduced flow of warm water means that warm water's pooling in the tropical Atlantic and the Gulf of Mexico, and that's warming up faster than ever. And that's producing a rapid increase in the intensity of hurricanes. So the intensity of hurricanes is increasing, as we know. Each year seems to produce a more destructive hurricane, but that's going to keep happening because of the decline in the thermohaline circulation. Even though that lets Western Europe a little bit off the hook as far as warming is concerned. But that decline is related again to the loss of sea ice, because the sea ice isn't being produced in the Greenland Sea area anymore. That's the region where which drives part of this thermohaline circulation. So that's a sort of a known fact, and it's been incorporated in people's thinking. But it's not mentioned by IPCC. So they don't talk about any changes in global ocean circulation as being important here. So what I think they're saying is if we can by some means keep warming below 1.5 degrees, then various other things won't happen. And so we don't have to think about them or mention them. So their reason, I don't think they say it explicitly, but they're saying is if we find a way to keep the warming down, then other phenomena won't happen. And so we don't have to talk about them. So a methane burst, for instance, won't happen because the sea ice won't retreat. But it's already retreated to the point where you're warming up the coastal seas of the Arctic. So it's a very, again, mentality of basic complacency, when you need a mentality of dire panic warning to say, look, we can't, we've got to do things really seriously, desperately. But
radical departure. We need a radical departure.
Yes, I mean, we need one for 2 degrees, because that's not going to be easy to reach or possible probably. But 1.5, that's really requires something absolutely drastic. But it's not going to get it, according to this report. We can smoothly go and continue our lives.